The path to directing a Hollywood film is a rare and coveted one. Often, an idle director with a couple of critical hits gets the chance to helm a major blockbuster, skyrocketing to the top of the industry. Directors like Jordan Vogt-Roberts, John Watts, and Josh Trank, just to name a few, are prime examples of this. But for some, that rise is short-lived. When things go wrong, especially in the high-stakes world of big-budget films, they're outcast faster than they came in. Then there are those who have already made their mark, having crafted blockbuster hits or even earned Academy acclaim. Yet one failed project can be enough to bring their careers crashing down, with even their previous successes offering no protection. In this video, we'll look at directors who showed immense promise or had already been established in the industry, only to see their careers derailed by a single disastrous film. Some were given too many chances, while others were unfairly pushed aside. But in the end, it only took one misstep for their fall from grace to begin. Starting off the list is none other than Gigli, Martin Brest. Martin Brest was a director who seemed destined for greatness. At just 28, he released Going in Style. While it didn't exactly sweep awards, it delivered a charming mix of heartfelt characters and light humor that earned it some attention. Then came Beverly Hills Cop, a game-changer in the mid-'80s. Not only did it become one of the decade's biggest hits, but it also propelled Brest and Eddie Murphy into the Hollywood spotlight. Brest kept the momentum going with Midnight Run, a film that snagged him 2 Golden Globe nominations, and later with Scent of a Woman. Sure, people still debate whether Al Pacino really deserved the Oscar for that role, but mainstream audiences loved it. Even Meet Joe Black, which was released 6 years later and didn't quite land with everyone, didn't shake the confidence people had in Brest's abilities. Then everything unraveled with Gigli. Few movies are as universally despised as this one. The reasons? Take your pick. Maybe it was the awkward chemistry between Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck that felt more like oil and water, or the fact that the plot seemed non-existent. Even legends like Al Pacino and Christopher Walken couldn't salvage this mess. The $54 million production was a box office disaster, ranking in less than $8 million. It swept the Razzies, and even worse, it marked the end of Brest's filmmaking career. One film was all it took to erase decades of success and potential. Next up is Heaven's Gate, Michael Cimino. Michael Cimino was once considered one of Hollywood's brightest talents. After all, his second film, The Deer Hunter, didn't just win 5 Oscars, including Best Director and Best Picture, but it cemented itself as one of the greatest films of the 1970s, a golden era for American cinema. Before that, he'd already turned heads with Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, starring Clint Eastwood. With a resume like that, Cimino seemed unstoppable. But all that praise came crashing down with one movie. Heaven's Gate was a colossal project, even by today's standards. Before marketing and distribution, the production budget alone climbed to what would now be $132 million. Despite the star-studded cast, including Christopher Walken, Jeff Bridges, Isabelle Huppert, and John Hurt, the movie was a box office disaster, earning just over $10.5 million when adjusted for inflation. The ambition was there, the film's visuals were intricate and grand in scale, but that's where the praise ends. At nearly 5.5 hours in its longest cut, it was bloated, unfocused, and dragged out far too many scenes. The central love triangle, led by Chris Christopherson, felt flat, and even the talented cast couldn't breathe life into it. The shorter cut didn't help much either, leaving viewers wondering why they should bother with a marathon to find something watchable. Ultimately, it was just the film's quality, or lack thereof, but its catastrophic box office performance that destroyed Cimino's career. After Heaven's Gate, he directed only one more movie in the 1980s and never got the chance to helm anything of the same scale again. That brings us to Pinocchio 2002, directed by Roberto Benigni. Roberto Benigni started his career mainly as an actor, before stepping into directing with his debut film, Tu mi turbai, in 1983. He truly made his mark, though, with the 1997 masterpiece, Life is Beautiful. This emotional war comedy drama took the world by storm, winning 3 Academy Awards out of 7 nominations. Benigni himself won for his unforgettable performance and even earned a nomination for Best Director, a rare feat for a writer, director, and lead actor all in one. But his next project didn't come close to the same success. In 2002, Benigni brought Pinocchio to life, or at least he tried to. The film aimed to charm audiences with its family-friendly tone and whimsical appeal, leaning heavily on Benigni's likable persona. However, it lacked the magic and depth needed to truly capture the wonder of the classic tale. The result was underwhelming, and the movie quickly dampened what had been a thriving international career built over decades. While Benigni has stayed active as an actor, his directorial ambitions took a major hit. His 2005 film, The Tiger and the Snow, was met with mixed reactions from fans and critics alike, and remains his last effort behind the camera. This leads us to Ghost of Mars 2002, directed by none other than John Carpenter. John Carpenter is a legend when it comes to horror, sci-fi, and action. With iconic films like Halloween, The Thing, Escape from New York, and Big Trouble in Little China, his work shaped the genre landscape. But by the late 1990s, his career had started to falter. Movies like Escape from LA and Vampires were met with poor reviews and disappointing box office returns. Unfortunately, Ghost of Mars turned out to be the final nail in the coffin. A mix of space western, action, and horror, the film had all the quirky hallmarks of Carpenter's style. It followed a police squad battling possessed miners on a terraformed Mars, but it didn't connect with audiences. The movie bombed at the box office, and studios decided Carpenter wasn't worth the risk anymore. Although he returned briefly to direct The Ward in 2010, Carpenter has mostly stepped away from filmmaking. However, he stayed involved in the industry, contributing as an executive producer and composer for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Now, that takes us to Rollerball 2002, directed by John Mctiernan, a name that might not ring a bell with many movie fans today, which is a real shame. Mctiernan is the mastermind between two of the coolest action movies in American cinema history. First there's Predator 1987, followed by Die Hard 1988. Making these two back-to-back, especially so early in his career, cemented his reputation as a top-tier action director. Honestly, he could have retired then and still been considered a legend. Instead, he kept going, giving us hits throughout the 90s like The Hunt for Red October and Die Hard with a Vengeance. These weren't flawless films, but they were entertaining crowd pleasers. Sure, he stumbled with Last Action Hero, a box office disaster that reunited him with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but McTiernan managed to bounce back, keeping his career steady. Then came the early 2000s, and with it, Rollerball. Unlike others on this list, there weren't glaring signs of McTiernan slipping, which made this flop even more surprising. A remake of the 1975 cult classic, Rollerball stripped away the original's social commentary and replaced it with mindless violence and an uninspired updates. The acting was flat, the editing was headache-inducing, and the story made little sense. Despite its big budget, the movie flopped hard, failing to even recoup a third of its costs once marketing was factored in. Rollerball didn't just sink McTiernan's career, it also ended lead actor Chris Klein's shot at stardom. Since this disaster, McTiernan has directed only one other movie, a disappointing outcome for someone who once seemed unstoppable. And that leads us straight to Batman and Robin, 1997, directed by Joel Schumacher, a film that left audiences wondering what went wrong. Maybe the warning signs were already there with Batman Forever. The movie was an over-the-top circus of colors, camp, and chaos, but Schumacher's work on A Time to Kill in between gave fans hope. He still had a steady hand as a director. Unfortunately, Batman and Robin proved otherwise. It derailed Schumacher's career faster than you can say bat nipples. Widely regarded as one of the worst superhero movies and big-budget movies of all time, it failed miserably in every way. The fallout was massive. Alicia Silverstone's career took a nosedive, Chris O'Donnell's momentum stalled, and George Clooney barely escaped unscathed. Though, let's face it, he's George Clooney. From Arnold Schwarzenegger's cringe-worthy ice puns to Uma Thurman's wasted potential as Poison Ivy, the film had no shortage of issues. The worst part? This was all Schumacher's vision. It wasn't a case of studio meddling or behind-the-scenes chaos. No. This was exactly the movie Schumacher set out to make, and it just didn't work. Coming from the man who directed emotional hits like St. Elmo's Fire and The Lost Boys, as well as the solid courtroom drama A Time to Kill, it was shocking to see him churn out something so universally panned. Even Flatliners had its intriguing moments, but Batman and Robin? It turned into a punchline. Schumacher later tried to reclaim some credibility, even directing a few episodes of House of Cards. While that may have helped a little, his reputation in Hollywood never fully recovered from this epic misstep. This brings us to one of the most daring creative moves in cinema history, The Great Dictator by Charlie Chaplin. It wasn't just a movie, it was a bold political statement. Chaplin's fearless satire of Adolf Hitler and fascism didn't sit well with everyone. In fact, it enraged J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI so much that they labeled him a premature anti-fascist. What followed was a relentless smear campaign aimed at tearing down one of Hollywood's most iconic figures. Unfortunately, the effort succeeded to some extent. Chaplin never achieved the same commercial success after The Great Dictator. Things went even further when he and his family were barred from re-entering the United States. Despite this, Chaplin remained a beloved figure outside of the US, where his genius was still recognized. In 1952, he even won an Oscar for Limelight, proving that his impact on cinema extended far beyond borders. Finally, we come to Jupiter Ascending by the Wachowskis. These visionary filmmakers found a second win with their Netflix series Sense8, but when it comes to big-budget movies, their chances seem to have run out. The Wachowskis have had plenty of opportunities to reclaim their Matrix-level glory. After that groundbreaking hit revolutionized action and sci-fi at the start of the 2000s, fans waited eagerly for the next masterpiece. They went on to direct some ambitious projects, from the Matrix sequels to Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas. But then came Jupiter Ascending, a flashy sci-fi disaster that might just mark the end of their blockbuster career. With a budget of $176 million, the movie is drowning in CGI, with little else to offer. Sure, some visuals are stunning, but the convoluted plot, clunky dialogue, and endless info dumps left audiences with little to enjoy. Financially, the film made $184 million worldwide, a number that might sound decent until you realize it barely covered production costs, let alone marketing. For context, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 made more domestically. That kind of flop was a major blow to the Wachowskis' reputation in Hollywood. Considering the mixed reception to Cloud Atlas and the flop of Speed Racer, this was strike 3. It's unlikely they'll be trusted with another blockbuster budget again. But at least they've managed to find a new audience through streaming. The world of filmmaking is as brutal as it is glamorous. For the directors on this list, the journey to Hollywood's peaks was an extraordinary achievement, yet it only took a single misstep, be it a poorly executed vision, overwhelming ambition, or simply bad timing to bring their careers to a screeching halt. So, what do you think? Are there other directors who deserve to be on this list? Or do you think some of these careers were cut short unfairly? Let us know in the comments below. And be sure to hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe to Director's Cut for more deep dives into the untold stories of Hollywood. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.